Hi guys, today we're going to be talking about the flow of cerebral spinal fluid and where it's created, where it's going in your brain. And I've already drawn out this diagram we're going to use here, and I'm just going to use these white arrows for the flow of cerebral spinal fluid. So first off, cerebral spinal fluid is going to be created in, or secreted in, through the choroid plexus, right here, which lines the roofs of the ventricles. And that choroid plexus is made up of these ependymal cells, which we went over last time. And what they do, the purpose they serve is to filter blood to make this ultra-filtered version of blood plasma, which is going to be that cerebral spinal fluid. So it's going to be filtered through those ependymal cells in the choroid plexus that line the roofs of these ventricles. And so I'm just going to start with this, with the flow over here. So we'll say it starts here in the lateral ventricles, but it is created in each one. So we have the cerebral fluid moving through from the lateral ventricles into the third ventricle, and then more is created moving from the third ventricle through the cerebral aqueduct into the fourth ventricle. And then from there it's going to move into this subarachnoid space, which I have right here. It's going to be the space between the cortex here. It's actually between the pia mater surrounding the cortex and the arachnoid mater, which is going to be this layer here that's right next to the dura mater, the meningeal dura mater, which is blue. And it's going to enter that through these structures called apertures. So we're going to enter this subarachnoid space here. So this way. We're entering the subarachnoid space on both sides. And we're surrounding the brain here, the cortical region of the brain. And that goes into essentially the job of the cerebral spinal fluid, and that's for padding and cushioning of the brain. So this cerebral spinal fluid is going to travel around the brain and act as a cushion, and it's going to exit this subarachnoid space eventually. And where it's going to exit are through these arachnoid villi. I'll try to draw on these right here. And that's where it's going to move from the subarachnoid space into these dural sinuses. And that's where there's actually going to be blood in these sinuses. And this is going to be venous blood. So deoxygenated blood. And so it's going to enter back into the bloodstream. It's going to cruise on down. And there's a few sinuses within the brain, or within the skull cavity. I'm not going to go over. It's eventually going to wind up in this confluence of sinuses. There we go, and drain back into your circulation through the jugular vein. And from there, it's going to head back to the heart, and then eventually make its way back up to the choroid plexus. So what I've done here is just drawn this circle here. So we can go over it again, and then we'll walk through the diagram one more time. But we have the choroid plexus as a starting point here, where it's created in the ventricles. And it's going to enter this subarachnoid space through the apertures of the fourth ventricle. When it's ready to leave the subarachnoid space, it's going to enter the dural sinuses through the arachnoid villi. From there, it's going to drain back into the jugular vein, go to the heart, then through the internal carotid and the anterior choroidal arteries, it's going to head back to the choroid plexus. And this happens and creates approximately 500 milliliters of cerebral spinal fluid a day. 500 milliliters per day. So that's a pretty large volume. Half a liter of cerebral spinal fluid a day is going to run through this system. So now that you see this, you can head back up here and see that it comes from these ventricles to the choroid plexus. Let's see, I'll highlight that choroid plexus is going to be in the roofs here. So we'll say this green here is the choroid plexus. Through the ventricles into the subarachnoid space, through the arachnoid villi into the dural sinuses. It's going to wind up back in the jugular vein, then to the heart, and then back through the circulation again. And that is going to be our quick video for the night. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.